talk with me for a little bit, because I understand that you've got one further announcement to make. So I'm going to invite you over to this bit here. This is the mark of power. That's where your best light is. So let's hear what your fabulous announcement is.
Okay, great. So we have a really, really exciting announcement. We have a friend joining us, a friend I met a couple of years ago. He's everywhere. Everybody knows him, and I'm so happy to introduce him today. It is will.i.am. Will, it's wonderful to see you again. When I met Will, we were actually with Mark, and we talked about all things tech. We talked about skilling, and we talked about young people and connecting schools. And today we're going to talk about how Will is our special ambassador for our AI Skills Coalition. And we're so happy, Will, to have you with us. So ladies and gentlemen, will.i.am.
Thank you very much, Doreen. That was amazing. All these initiatives, and we're thrilled to have you along for the ride remotely, will.i.am. We've arranged a fantastic conversation partner in the form of the Atlantic's Nick Thompson, who is going to be sitting in the hot seat behind us. But for now, it's over to Nick for more, and thank you very much, Doreen, and everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Should we head off the front? It's silly if I walked off the back without you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, LJ. Thank you very much, Doreen. Will, it is wonderful to see you. You can't see the room, I don't think, but just so you know, it's full. There are people lined up. It is exactly like your concert last week in Casablanca. All right. I want to start with something you said to me a couple of years ago. And I asked you, I said, if my kids want to become musicians, what should they do? And you said, they should start to study AI. And I'm curious if that advice still holds, and if the way they should study it has changed at all in the last 2 or 3 years.
Wow, that was 3 years ago when I said that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you want to make music, materialize ideas into, audio results quickly, then you should dabble with AI. If you want to just play music, you still should learn an instrument. If you want to, express yourself and rinse yourself out after you've been through something harsh or you've experienced something wonderful, it's still an important skill to want to learn to write. But you don't necessarily have to do that to get an idea out. You don't have to do that. It's great to know, but there's this tool now that you could just, explain how you feel, and it's going to, give you the proximity of materializing songs, and that's still fulfilling for a lot of people. But for me and hyper creatives like myself, we still want to stretch ourselves. Like AI now it's a metaphor. AI now does Pilates. Right? AI now stretches. That doesn't mean you don't have to stretch your damn self. You still got to stretch. I don't care how dope AI is at stretching and doing Pilates. You still have to, be flexible yourself.
How do you use AI when you're writing music now versus how you used it a couple years ago? I should say, by the way, that Will was forecast the entire future in a music video from 10 years ago where he starts to talk to his bandmates about voice cloning, and then his bandmates run out and start yelling at him and go dance in the desert, which you should all watch. But explain now. It is amazing. I mean, Fergie heads off on a motorcycle in anger at Will, who basically forecast 11 labs. Regardless, how do you use it now?
It was 15 years ago. That video was 15 years ago, and it forecasted not just 11 labs. It forecasted Suno, Udio, and LLMs, because in this sentence that I explained to the band, I'm like, look, you take the entire English language, you take my voice. So there was no diffusion models, there was no LLM models at the time. So I was paraphrasing it based on like how this might come to be. So, but it kind of forecasted. Check it out. The song is called "I'ma Be Rocking That Body" on YouTube. That kind of like paints where we are. So what was your question again? Sorry, I just wanted to clear up how long ago it was. And
You should all watch that if you haven't already watched it this morning. The question is how you use AI now in your creative process as a musician versus how you used it back when the tools were much weaker. When you're writing a new song, how are you using AI?
I don't change how I write. Like, how I write is how I write. Like I said, it's a stretch. What I do after the stretch is different. So say, for example, I write, I have an idea, and the idea is like, sitting in Paris, I wish I was in Switzerland. Okay, I got that. Sitting in Paris, I wish I was in Switzerland. Sitting in Paris, I wish I was in Switzerland. Sitting in Paris. Sitting in Paris, I wish I was in Switzerland. Damn, I'm embarrassed. I think I'm on that shit again. Sitting in Paris, I wish I was in Switzerland. Damn, I'm embarrassed. Damn, I'm embarrassed. I think I'm on that shit again. So then I'll form it, and I'll keep going. And then I'll have a form. And so that exercise of like, this stanza is shaped like this stanza. The next stanza, it rhymes with the next stanza. Sitting in Paris, I wish I was in Switzerland. Damn, I'm embarrassed. I think I'm on that shit again. So those words have the same form, the same shape. And that's cool. That's a good exercise for me. What does that mean? It's pattern matching. So I'm pattern matching. So this, so what you want, shop, it's a pattern match. I matched these shapes of sounds. And that's good. It's a good exercise for how I see the world, because I could use that same skill to pattern match visuals. I could use that same skill to pattern match ideas and concepts, right? It allows me to predict what's coming based on the shape of now, too. So that same shaping words allows me to shape ideas, shape how we are, shape what I see. So I don't want to give that to the machine. So what do I do with the machine now? Well, with the machine, I could be like, okay, here's what I have. Give me 100 of these. Because it would have took me a whole freaking day to come up with 100 variations. So I will come up with the original form and then throw it in the machine, and the machine will give me a bunch of them. And I never want to give the machine the power of imagining the first. We are the ideators. It is an infinite generator. At this point in time, it's just regurgitating imagination. It's a regurgitation of imagination. We are the dreamers of the dream. Willy Wonka. Right? That's the famous line from Willy Wonka. I forgot who was the original poet that wrote that, but that's where Willy Wonka borrowed from. I like dreaming. I like imagining. And so yeah, I use it to regurgitate my imagination. I don't use it to imagine.
So this is a hugely profound idea, and it gets to some of the core questions about how we learn, how we'll interact with machines. And so I want to ask you a little bit. You are, of course, an educator. You have many students. You brought many people into the education system. As you think about teaching them to learn, and as you think about how you teach them to learn in this age of extremely intelligent AI, does that principle still hold in every field? You come up with the core idea, you come up with the core concept, and then you can let the machine elaborate on it. You keep your mind sharp so that you never cognitively offload the capacity to get the original idea. Do you impress that upon the kids you work with?
The kids that we work with, we encourage the kids to be audacious and ambitious and compete. And those three elements, no matter what their field is the tools they need for tomorrow. That's the source, the core that they need. You need to be audacious to compete, and you need to be ambitious to get up once you got knocked down. In the past, we were just doing that with humans. And now, something based on that pattern matching, and seeing what's possible based on what's happening now, what's plausible based on what's happening now, to be able to see hey, this is how we're going to be making music in the future. In 2015, 15 years ago in 2010 when we made that video. Just 2 years before that, I started my program, 2008. And that program was a robotics computer science college prep program. Because that same intuition of, maybe the future is going to look a lot like this. Let me make sure kids from my neighborhood are prepared for that future. So that audaciousness and ambitiousness and is what we try to mentor and encourage our kids to fuel themselves with. Ambitiousness, audaciousness, and the will to compete.
You've talked a number of times about the need for an AI constitution and the need to make sure that as we head into this era of AI, we don't make similar mistakes that we made in the Web 2 era. I'm curious right now what you think the key principles should be in an AI constitution.
Wow, you pulling up all the things, all these gems. So yeah,
You say all these smart things. I've been reading them for years, man. Of course I know these things.
So the AI constitution, once again, a pattern match. I'm like, why isn't there an AI constitution? And whoever doesn't sign it, that's the AI you don't want to mess with. We don't even have that right now. And before we even get that complex, most of these people in the audience, most of you guys, you have a driver's license. Some of you guys, maybe a few of you guys, flew an airplane before. Maybe one of you guys, flew a helicopter. Each one of us that operate machines have a license to operate that machine. And if you're ambitious enough, maybe one of you guys, want to do a scooter company or a mobility company. To do that, the people that are operating those machines, they have to have taken a test to operate those machines. To make AI, you don't have to take a test. There's no license to deploy systems that are going to reconfigure how people think. And I think that's wrong. I think that just like operating a vehicle, people that are going to get behind that wheel should take a test to know if they're going to just slam up against a crowd of people walking down the street. But we know we're safe. We're safe walking down the street, knowing that that's not the first thing that people are going to think of. We trust in humanity. We knew that there were steps taken to ensure that the people that are deploying those cars deployed them with seatbelts, deployed them with airbags, deploy them with sensors. We know that these things are put in place in society. Same's not for AI. We kind of turn the blind eye that hopefully the adults will be adults. But we know damn well the adults are not being adults. They're being greedy. And that's wrong. So even before we get to the Constitution, there should be some basic is that person that's deploying that product, do they got our best interest in mind? Do they care enough? Or do they lead with greed? Are they human first or money first? Because Web Web 2, social media, it didn't, if you look at like the good it did a lot of foul stuff. So for AI for good, you also have to do like data rights. What is your data practice? Because you can't have AI for good with poor data practice. And we're still in poor data practice from, social media. So is this just a slogan? Are these just like word logos? Is this sloganism? AI for good. Poor data practice. Guess what you're gonna have? Fucking bad AI.
I didn't think that particular group of words would get a round of applause here at the UN AI for Good, but I'm delighted it did. When you look at AI as it's being deployed today and as it's being developed today, do you think that the people who are doing the most of it are leading with greed, or do you think they're leading with empathy? Are they making it for humans, or are they making it for money, as you just said?
Dario's one of the good guys. And I'm happy there's a Dario. He's transparent. Dimas is one of the good guys. I hope he could get Google to follow his pureness. Mustafa at Microsoft is one of the good guys. So in these mega companies, they have some pretty awesome humans there. Two of which were homies growing up, Mustafa and Dimas, right? Mustafa's from freaking, what's that city in the UK? He took me there a couple of days ago. Anyways, I just brain farted.
I thought he was from London, but he's from somewhere else in the UK.
No, he's from London, but he's from a sub-city in London that's like pretty the hood. Aiden from Cohere is the nicest person I've ever met in a very, very long time. So there's a lot of like good-hearted folks in AI. And then you have this like, the rigmarole that they have to, function in. But that rigmarole needs to, they're either gonna have to force to be more human, but right now it's kind of like, let's see how it goes if we lead with greed. But
So
you can't play with it.
So you have a lot of influential people in this room. You have regulators, you have government officials, you have builders. If there's this moment we're in right now where AI could go in a direction of greed or go in a direction of empathy, what is the role for the different people in this room? How should they think about their responsibilities or what they can do today or tomorrow?
Okay, so the folks that they're on the side of innovation, which is great, because you don't want to have regulation that stifles innovation. We wouldn't be here if we practiced strict regulations 10 years ago. So I understand that. It's the same with censorship with lyric writing. You're on the side of the talent. The talent means well. This is how they feel. This is what they see. Let's make sure we protect them. That's awesome. And then there's, hey, what about the people though? What about the kids? Should they be around that foul language? What about the kids? Should they be subjected to this camera there? Should every movement be mapped? Should you use their movements against them later on when they're machine learned down to blink, down to the smirk when they scrolled, down to their search? Like the cookie, damn, they picked the cutest name, Cookies, when it's really a cookie monster. So you want to make sure we haven't been here as a society This is the most, I'm trying to explain it without sounding spooky. Have we been here before? Or is this the first time we've been here? Because it kind of sounds like things that were in fantasy movies in the past. It kind of sounds, if this was like 40 years ago, this kind of sounds like fantasy. You know, there was a word called abracadabra that comes from Aramaic, which means I create as I speak. That kind of sounds like ChatGPT. So how does folklore and myth rhyme with what we have now? Like genies in bottles, kind of sounds like what we are now. So if we've been here before, why did they put the genie in the bottle? And then why are we letting it out? And what are the precautions so that we're safe now if this rhymes with the past? Right? So I don't think it's something to play with. I don't think it's something to, but I know why we're here. This is a time where we will catapult as a species. We will catapult as a society. If we can be humane. But we are the most inhumane thing to humans. Like, think about what we've done. We've been able to tame the wildest bears, the wildest lions. We've been able to look at an eagle and be like, I like how they fly. We make an airplane. Oh, wow, look at those dolphins and them freaking whales. We made submarines. We figured out how to then look at the world, figure out whether, down to the point where we could predict it, down to looking inside of us and figuring out our neural network and synthesizing. Like, we are pretty profound. So now, what about protocols? Are we that innovative where we could also put some constraints at the same time as we innovate? I think we could. We put constraints on every wild animal to where we are safe to live in the mountains next to mountain lions. We are pretty freaking awesome. We are great. Now, where's our greatness when it comes to leadership and precaution and safety? We need that because we don't want the AI to do that. Or else.
All right. That is the perfect note to end on. I would ask the Swiss government to please book the Black Eyed Peas next year, simultaneous with this concert, so that Will can be here, not in Paris. But thank you very much to one of the great AI philosophers of our time, will.i.am.
Thank you.